Hello everyone, my name is Vahid. I'm the founder of Archstate. Archstate is a portfolio management platform for architects, and it's on its way to become the operating system for architecture practice. Simply said, it gives architects the tool to manage, represent, and develop their projects and portfolio in general. But I don't want to get inside the full explanations and descriptions of the platform in this video. We're going to have much more another videos, hopefully, talking about those things. And also we have the website, social media, Instagram, etc., that you can go on and get more information about that. This is the first video of the discussions that I'm publishing, that I'm having with the AI models during the past years, and especially during the past 6 months. I've been using AI models as anyone else to validate and develop the ideas that we've been working on and we're providing solution for. And what I thought recently was that maybe we can publish these discussions using the voice modes of Cloud, ChatGPT, Grok maybe in the future. And this is the first one of those. So it's somehow, we'll see how it ends. But we're going probably to have another videos. We have some series that we're running on Instagram and LinkedIn, especially. We have what it is about. Let's talk about it. And there are other series that explains how the platform works, what are the ideas behind that, what are the updates about the software, etc. Okay, let's get into it. I gave ChatGPT. I had to change ChatGPT to Cloud to ChatGPT for this one because I ran out of tokens. And I gave the article to ChatGPT and ask it to be critical about the points and to challenge me on all of the points, to be deep on that. But I'm also going to ask it to make it clear to you. So basically, the article claim is that architecture practice was never given a system of its own. This is what we're actually claiming. And we're going to see that what does that actually means, and if it's true, if it's not true, if it's near reality, or etc. Let's do this. Hi ChatGPT.
Sure.
How's it going?
Yes.
First of all, tell the audiences, because I'm recording this session. Tell the audience that what is your role, what is your task, and what we're going to do today.
Sure. Happy to. So today I'm acting as a senior architect with a lot of practical experience in both small studios and big firms. I'm here to push back when something sounds too idealistic or too broad, and to ask for specifics. If something makes sense, I'll acknowledge that. As for the plan, we're keeping this to 20 to 30 minutes, one core idea at a time, not the entire universe of architecture. So maybe we start with your biggest claim, that architecture practice was never given a system of its own. Why do you say that?
Yes, that's a legitimate question, and that's actually what I wanted to ask you as well. Let's clarify some and let's have some base grounds and solid grounds on top of which we can have our discussions better. When I say that architecture practice was never given a system, specifically I'm talking about the practice of architecture, not theory of architecture or anything other than that. So by that I mean that the way that people do the architecture work and do the practice at this moment is so much fragmented, and it is very much inefficient, and it is not using the full capabilities of the technologies. And it's been a while, and it has been like this. It's not just new. I mean, for the last maybe 20 years that IT industry was so ahead, we were just so behind, and we didn't use that for many possible reasons. And this is what I'm claiming, is that especially right now that AI is also coming, many things are changing inside that. I'm telling that we don't have a really universal system based on which we can really operate efficiently and manage our resources as we go into the topics. Let's do that after you. I see.
All right.
I hear what you have to say. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Fragmentation is very real. Every office I've ever worked in has had different folders, different standards, different ways of naming files. So yeah, it's messy, but I want to probe this. When you say system, do you mean software or do you mean the way offices organize themselves, like processes or culture? Because lots of professions have fragmented tools, yet somehow they still get the work done, you know?
Okay, let me bring you back to the right track and make the right mindset about this thing setups. Where I'm talking about, as it is also mentioned in the article, is that we are not treating our projects as real data and our workflows as real digital workflows. I'm not necessarily talking about the organization, file organizations or the namings, which is also part of those. I'm also talking about the connections that presentation has to the resources that we have, because basically maybe it's a good idea that I also explain what is the different sides that we are arguing inside the article and what is the relationships that they're having to these discussions. Very short, very briefly, I just say that for architecture practice, we have three sides. Is first of all, we have to manage the resources that we have. Many people and architects think that our job is to design. Basically, it is, but design is the result and outcome of the resources that you have, the way that you have managed them. For example, expertise, knowledge, your team members, the tools that you're using, the outside resources that you acquire or use. These are all resources somehow. Even the projects that you produce becomes a resource and goes back into the loop. So at the end, the output of the management that you're having on your resources, it is the design. And for doing that, all throughout the project life cycle, let's say, we're representing our projects. I use the representation because it is a wider terminology than presentation. Presentation is a video that we make a sheet that we make, anything like a visualization. But representation can be also the way you talk about your project with other team members, with other people, clients, everything that is a somehow manifestation of the project and the process is representation. And on the third side, which many architects actually don't see that as their job, is we have the development. Development also has very quickly two sides. One side is developing the base of the projects you already have, like verification, bringing feedback into the design. And on the other side, we have the development of practice, acquiring new, expanding your network, bringing more projects, etc., branding, etc. So again, I told all of these things, explained to say that what I see the practice now at this moment, I say that these three sides are not working together. It's not, we don't have integration of these three sides into the practice. And it is causing a lot of problems, inefficiencies, and of course cost. And at the end, it is going to affect the quality. And architects usually compensate for these flaws and this integration, let's say, with working more, working harder, making more presentations, and they don't even know their brand. Their voice is not consistent throughout all of their projects. They barely know the solutions they're using. If it's, for example, architectural solutions I'm talking about, throughout different projects, if it's their theory also developing, or etc. Okay, I just talked a lot, but I want to know, did I answer your questions, or can you pick on that one?
Yeah, you did answer the question. I was asking what you actually meant by system, and now I see you're not just talking about file structures, but about the deeper disconnect between resources, representation, and practice development. So, okay, I get that now. But let me push you a bit. Aren't those just aspects of many creative professions? Like graphic designers deal with resources, they have representation, they have portfolios. What makes architecture special here? Or is it just part of the broader knowledge work problem?
Well, your question is thoughtful, but I think it's, for example, what I mean is that by bringing some examples of other industries which also have the same problems, doesn't mean that architecture should not have the problem. For example, all of these uh, let's say, creative industries, they somehow have the same problems. I don't want to talk about those industries, but I know about IT. And something which actually makes architecture different than other creative processes is that architecture is really operations heavy, and it's how can I say, it's a communication heavy process. It has a lot of operations. You have to produce a lot of documents. You have a lot of responsibilities. Many different disciplines are actually involved in the process. And so it is a very complex job, actually. It can be a very complex job. And it makes it different than many industries that may not have that requirements or uh, characteristics. But if you compare it to the IT industry in the specific, because IT is something that did a really great progress over the past decades. If you compare architecture to those industries, you can see the flaws that we have. For example, in IT, you already know GitHub, or maybe I don't know, audiences know that or what. But can you imagine in IT industry people not working with GitHub? All the contributions, it is just recorded back to, I don't know, 4 years ago. Everything is clear. In architecture, you can simply not find that. And it cannot be the case. That causes a lot of difficulties. And again, I want to emphasize on this being real data, and I want to know your opinion about when I use that project is not real data and our workflows are not real digital workflows, because in IT it is. That's why it is tracked, traceable, and it's also many different functionalities are easily derived from the data, because the data, it is structured well, it can be developed very well, it is open source, people collaborate easily on that. Do you agree with this stuff or not? What is your opinion on this?
I'm going to say I partly agree, but I want to challenge how strongly you're framing it. I agree that architecture projects are often not treated as structured, connected data. There's a lot of rework, reformatting, representing, and that creates inefficiency. Where I push back is with the phrase not real data. I don't buy that. Revit models, BIM databases, project management systems, they do contain data. It's just not unified data. So I'd rephrase, it's fragmented data, not non-data. And your IT comparison, that's tempting, but we have to be careful. GitHub works because code is natively text and version control fits it perfectly, right? Buildings are geometry, drawings, regulations, physical constraints. So I don't think GitHub is a direct model for architecture. That said, I do think that principles like a single source of truth, traceable contributions, those could be adapted. So if your argument is architecture needs an underlying project data layer, I think that's strong and worth defending. But if the claim is that architecture has no data to build from, I disagree.
Yeah, I can accept your point. I can also see your point, because this article, some of the words are used as and somehow a bit abstract to have a bit of criticism behind that. For example, when I said real data in quotation, actually, and that was the same meaning that as you said, that it is fragmentation. But again, I have some points. I have some explanations about what you said, because I think it is very interesting. First of all, you say that GitHub cannot be the same because the data is different, and sure, fair enough. I'm not saying that we should have GitHub, but you talked about Revit, and Revit has data, and that's actually true. And that's my point, actually, because Revit came around, I don't know, BIM in general. Let's talk about BIM. BIM came around 20 years ago, something like that. Maybe it was invented much more before that. But when I was in in university it was around 2004 and something like that. We were hearing about BIM. So what I'm trying to say is that before BIM, architects used to have drawing sheets. Then AutoCAD came. So inside AutoCAD, everything was lines and circles and dots and everything. So software didn't have any kind of idea what what are these surfaces and lines, right? Then BIM came around, and now all of a sudden, software could understand that this is a window, this is a floor, everything have the connection, and it is perfect. I think the development and progress there is perfect, but also it took a lot of time that Revit and Autodesk could put into the place some collaboration features. Maybe it has been widely used in only the past 5-10 years. So what I'm saying, but it is about Revit. This is about the somehow technical data. We have the building data, we have the simulation, we have the plans, everything about the design itself. But when I talk about one project, if I tell you that, for example, you have an office, you're in an office, you're an architect, and I tell you, give me your projects, what would you say? You definitely would ask that, what do you mean, give me my project? Do you want the visualizations? Do you want presentations? Do you want information? Do you want the client's brief, etc.? There is no standard way of treating projects, same as the BIM model. What I'm saying is that, as you told, I think it's right, is that we need a data layer, that project should be treated also something like your BIM. It is universal. There are some standards. Of course, not everyone, maybe some offices can already have this data, but this data is stored in, I don't know, different platforms, like just in Excel sheets, something on the paper, I don't know. But nobody can exchange these things. We cannot build functionalities based on the data that we don't know which structure they have. So basically what I'm saying, that projects should have a standard data structure or data layer. That doesn't mean that projects cannot be different. That doesn't mean that the projects cannot deviate. But the same example as Revit, actually it is true. When Revit came, many people could say that I could not have interiors, I could not have landscape, or what happens to the structure, or what happens to the civil. All of them came around. Yeah, eventually they just figured it out and created some features to handle those. I won't saying that projects should get to the same level of data structure and capabilities. Now a platform like us eventually can treat these projects as real data. This is what I mean. Yeah, it's a bit, maybe the name is exaggeration. Then when you have the data, then you can connect all of those workflows. For example, many different presentations are connected to many different projects. And when an asset, an image changes in one project, then all of a sudden, you know where it is changed, it should not change. Do you want to share the project with someone else? Do you want the AI go inside the project to understand the basic, understand the theory, etc., all of this? What I'm saying is that these systems are required for the near future, and we don't have it.
Yeah, that's clear. And I follow you better now. So you're not saying Revit solved it. You're saying even with Revit and BIM, we still lack a cross-project connected data layer, something that links representations, updates, and sharing across offices. That actually makes sense. And I agree, it's a plausible direction. But I'd ask, so how do you avoid reinventing yet another silo? Like, how is this different from project management tools that already promise integration, but can practice stay half silo?
I think I need a bit of help on that one, more clarification. When you say that project management actually claimed to bring some clarity, of course it did, but I don't remember, this is not on my mind that project management promised that projects will be real data. Project management never actually promised to have integrated presentations, as I call it, representation. Project management never understood having AI on this side, at least until recently. And on the development side, actually, it is totally outside of the project management realm of working. And this is actually what we've been working on, and we have in our competitions analysis. This is what we're saying, that not all of these tools that architecture have, and productivity as well, which is general, but also architects use, they are doing some part of the practice as we have framed it, right? If we frame the practice of architecture in these three sides, I would argue that none of these tools is actually addressing all of them or integrate all of those things. Again, if you're going to have this platform, we also don't do the Revit's job. That's something very technical, very deep. But on the level of projects, project management came to have clear timelines, clear roles that people can do. Yes, maybe in that side they just helped a bit, but again, that role stayed inside one project and didn't was not really, I mean, efficiently communicated over the portfolio. And again, if you, for example, in the project management, you as a single person, yes, maybe you had a profile, but you couldn't work and collaborate in other teams. And these project management tools usually don't understand that really, that you're working on different projects and different things, and they don't track your, for example, working. If you worked on Revit and you published it something, the record is there for project management to use that, right? The project management is used to assign. I don't know if I drifted from that, but just let me know if your point was something else.
No, you stayed on track and you're getting closer to a strong argument, but I still want to poke this. You're blending two things, integration and standards. Without a shared standard for what a project is, integration just gets brittle. So who defines that standard? Industry-wide, like BIM with IFC, or proprietary, like an Archstate model? That's a big decision. Also, I would frame your point about project management tools. They're really not meant to solve portfolios or AI reasoning. They're meant to coordinate execution. So maybe the sharper claim would be project management optimizes execution, not the knowledge lifecycle of architecture. That feels more accurate. Now, putting on my skeptical architect hat, why should I trust your data layer instead of just sticking with Revit, Microsoft 365, SharePoint, and the tools I already use?
Okay, getting back to your point, I had to record this again because of some problems. And the question was that why people should use our system, not the other one system like SharePoint or Autodesk Forma or 360. And something that came up, it was nice by ChatGPT, was telling that the good term is knowledge lifecycle, which is actually true because the platform, as I'm also claiming, is somehow it wants to find a way to, from all of these processes and workflows, to keep the knowledge and develop that and keep it organized, that like digital as well,
Okay.
AI. But
Yeah.
let me go back to the who decides point. Who decides is basically, first of all, you as a platform, you come up with a solution, then people use it, and when they use this widespread, it goes develop, other competitors comes. At the end of the day, there are going to be some standards developed anyway and it used. But when you're talking about the SharePoint is just storage services and it's not comparable. But when you're talking about Forma, yes, okay, that's it. But it is also just for Revit and the technicality part that I mentioned. And none of this can make the comprehensive connections that I have on my mind between the single source of truths about the projects and the data, as we talked, the layer, and the rest of it, like the brand, also contributions across different projects, not only one project, and presentations as well. If you have some tools that makes presentation, still yes, you're right. Forman, this platform, they have some tools to bring your Revit into presentation. They're probably going to also develop that part. That's fair enough. But still, I'm going to say that nobody keeps all of the projects as again, as I have in my mind inside those as in a way that the platform can understand the architects very well. They also claim that in the future the platform should understand the whys behind the projects, the consistent mission, vision, etc. Also, the narratives that people they have throughout the projects. These are the things that are totally out of the realm of Autodesk, I guess. And Autodesk, I'm thinking is not going after this because it is not their focus, and I didn't. So that's the difference, yeah.
Checking. I just push it a bit. I think you're right that Autodesk isn't trying to understand an architect's entire body of work or the professional narrative. You're right. But where I want to challenge you is when you say nobody does this. I mean, many are trying. There are portfolio platforms, knowledge bases, even AI tools that chip away at parts of it. So what I think makes your idea interesting isn't that others are ignoring it. It's whether you're defining something more fundamental. So let me ask, is your system really about the project as a living knowledge entity across its entire portfolio? Because if so, that's much more specific and defensible.
You're actually right. I mean, yes, I don't really claim that other people are not after this. And I actually, this opposite, I say that people are actually thinking about this. And many people are going to try this. What I'm saying that until now, it has not been implemented the way it should have been. There was many resources were at our stake, but maybe the industry has a specific conventions and existing workflows that they were very much resistant to the changes. We don't want to talk about the reasons behind why it was the way it was. But yes, again, as you said, I don't see any good solution specifically for architects. Many of these portfolio platforms, this is just portfolio platform. It is not an operating system. It is just many of them are general. It's not even for architects. Even if they are for architects, they're usually just providing some basic tools to bring your projects as some online presentations and bring it to your public profile and do some produce some PDFs, this kind of things. But they don't have the data structure that I'm talking about. And this data is very heavy. I mean, because there should be a lot of engineering behind those data structures and backends and the processes, DevOps, everything that's happening in the back, because and the layer of the analytics that is going to happen. Again, if we have the projects, we are also giving some insights that how these projects are being used, how public are seeing these projects, like the analytics you have. We can provide API to external. Again, all of these things actually, if I can go specifically back to your question, is that it goes actually to what you said. It goes back to having projects as a very least, what can I say, foundation of the portfolio. Every project is comprehensive data model, which has a lot of capabilities inside that. And these capabilities and functionalities are only possible if you see it as a real data. Then the digital workflows come. And yes, of course, there are a lot of adoption rates and adoption times. That's for sure. I don't want to debate on that one. But did I answer your question about being different somehow?
Yeah, you did. And I think you've sharpened the distinction. So what you're aiming for isn't just a prettier portfolio viewer. It's a data structure where the project is the core object, including assets, contributors, decisions, and then connecting those across a career. That's more specific, and if you demonstrate even a small prototype, more convincing. What I'd still press on is adoption. Architects are conservative with tools because deadlines are brutal. So how does this not become just another thing busy offices won't have time to feed?
Okay, good point. But now we are at the point that we should we have to check that what we're talking about right now. So can we say that we agreed on some points? Because I want to say that, okay, I made a claim, article made a claim, we came up with some word differences that was very interesting, and I probably should use your wording. But can we actually agree that there is some fundamental uh, problems or inefficiencies, or let's say shortcoming at least in the industry, that this industry should overcome if they want to go further to be more efficient and actually meet the requirements and the needs of the future, which is going to be very much different than today. And after we did this one, we can wrap it up. But about your adoption, very quickly, I just maybe you just give me your opinion and we just end up there and wrap it up. But about the adoption, of course, any startup, any product is not going to address everyone altogether. They're going probably to the youngest freelancers, solo practitioners, those people who really need the technology and the new waves and new methods to get some advantage. And if you give them some advantage over the bigger offices, they definitely can use that. They can see that. And if what we're saying is true, what the foundation we talked about is somehow true, we can say that providing these tools, it can actually give some advantage to the younger people. Maybe with two or three people inside an office, younger, adapted to the technology, they're native to many of these technologies, they can gain some advantage over, like, say, 10 people offices so quickly, so fast. That's why you have to go and offer this to those people. But after you can also answer this point, but then wrap it up about what we said, how much we could agree, and how much the claim is actually, to your opinion after discussion, is correct, let's say, or actually it applies to the reality out there.
Checking. Quite a lot, actually. I'd say we agree that one, architecture practice is fragmented, and current tools don't solve that holistically, and that AI will amplify the gap if the underlying information stays disconnected. Where I'd separate agreement from proof is the solution. The project-centered data model is a strong hypothesis, but it's not yet proven that the market will adopt it. On adoption, I do agree with your wedge strategy. Start with freelancers and small studios. If you can save them time or win them work, that's a real advantage. Bigger firms will watch if it works. So yeah, good disagreement, but a solid shared diagnosis.
Yeah, right. I also learned a lot from you. And I hope that the people also listening to this one have some thoughts about that. And if they put it in the comments, if they put it, actually tell me in any ways, if they want to participate. We actually ideally want to have this in the future versions, like to have between different models and even having guests, hopefully. And
That sounds good.
yeah, let's wrap it up then. It was nice talking to you
Okay.
today.
And likewise, stay curious.